Last year, over 62 million tons of organic waste vanished from American landscapes, burned, buried, or left to rot, while forests quietly built soil fertility using a method older than farming itself. Civilizations once harnessed layers of wood and debris to transform barren earth into thriving crops. Yet we abandoned this technique just as the soil crisis hit its peak. Why would we discard a process that promised infinite soil health? The answer challenges everything we think we know about modern agriculture. In the wetlands of central Mexico, farmers once shaped floating gardens from mud, reeds, and layers of decaying wood. These chinampas, first built more than 2,000 years ago, turned shallow lakes into fields that could feed entire cities. Archaeological digs reveal a deliberate system. Branches and brush formed the foundation, topped with rich lake mud and plant matter. Over time, each layer broke down, steadily building soil that held water through the dry season and released nutrients as crops grew. The Aztecs relied on this system to grow maize, beans, and squash year-round, even as drought or flood threatened the land around them. Similar ingenuity surfaced in the Great Lakes, where the ancestors of the Menominee people constructed ridged fields for corn and squash. Excavations in Michigan's Upper Peninsula uncovered mounds just 1 foot high, packed with charcoal, household scraps, and wetland soil. Radiocarbon dating places these beds at nearly 1,000 years old. Soil samples from these sites still show a signature of high fertility, centuries after the last harvest. An archaeologist specializing in ancient agriculture describes these mounds as living infrastructure, designed for resilience, not speed. The layered approach allowed communities to thrive on marginal ground, far from the river valleys that supported early civilization elsewhere. Across continents, the strategy was the same. Bury organic matter, build up the land, and let time create abundance. These systems did not rely on fertilizer or machinery. Instead, they mimicked the slow, steady accumulation found on the forest floor. The evidence is clear. Long before industrial farming, people understood how to turn waste into wealth below their feet. Deep underground, the story of soil health is written in water. As wood begins to rot beneath the surface, its structure transforms. Lignin and cellulose, the tough compounds that once gave a tree its strength, break down under the patient work of fungi and microbes. This process carves out a network of pores and tunnels, expanding the original pore space by as much as 200 to 400%. The result is a material that acts like a biological sponge. A soil physicist describes the effect in simple terms. A decayed log can soak up 3 to 5 times its own dry weight in water. That is not a guess. Controlled lab tests confirm it. In drought simulations, chunks of decomposed oak and maple rival the best commercial hydrogels, holding moisture far beyond what sand or even clay can manage. When rain falls, these buried wood reservoirs capture the surplus. During dry spells, they release it back into the soil, drop by drop, feeding plant roots when the surface has gone bone dry. This is not just a trick of ancient gardeners. Forestry journals document how fallen logs in undisturbed woods buffer the impact of long summers without rain. In managed systems that mimic this process, soil moisture remains up to 40% higher during peak drought than in conventional fields. The numbers speak for themselves. Beds built on buried wood need less irrigation, weather dry years with less stress, and can support crops when neighboring plots wilt. The sponge effect is measurable, predictable, and once set in motion, almost unstoppable. Hardwood logs buried deep in the soil set off a slow process that can last decades. Oak and maple, for example, break down over 15 to 25 years. As fungi and bacteria digest the wood, they unlock a steady flow of nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and calcium, transforming what was once waste into a reservoir of fertility. Soil microbiologists point to long-term studies in Germany, where plots built on buried wood showed a 20 to 50% increase in soil organic matter after 10 years. The results are not a temporary boost. They are a gradual, compounding gain that outpaces conventional fertilization. Nutrient release peaks in the middle years, then tapers off, but the benefits persist for a generation or more. Unlike chemical fertilizers, which can wash away or burn out, this system holds nutrients in place, supporting crops year after year. Even after 2 decades, the soil remains rich, dark, and full of life, living proof that patience pays off underground. Deep inside these living mounds, something unexpected happens as wood breaks down. The same microbial activity that releases nutrients also generates heat, a quiet, steady warmth that radiates upward through the soil. Field studies from cold climate farms in Germany and Canada show that even in early spring, soil above buried wood measures 2 to 5 degrees Celsius warmer than the ground beside it. That difference does not sound dramatic, but it is enough to push back the last frost by up to 2 weeks, giving seedlings a crucial head start. In autumn, roots stay active longer, drawing on the last reserves of warmth as nights grow cold. Unlike heated greenhouses or electric soil mats, this climate buffer runs on biology alone. There is no fuel to buy, no switches to flip. The heat comes from the slow metabolism of fungi and bacteria, working through the winter, keeping the underground world just a little more hospitable. For growers at the edge of short seasons, this passive warmth can mean the difference between a failed crop and a full harvest. By the 1920s, tractors and mechanized plows began to shape the future of farming. Flat, uniform fields became the new standard, not because they grew better crops, but because machines demanded consistency. The United States Department of Agriculture published bulletins urging farmers to clear away brush and level their land, calling uneven ground a threat to efficiency. Burning or chipping woody debris became routine, not for the soil's benefit, but to keep the gears of industrial agriculture turning smoothly. Mounds and terraces, once prized for their resilience, were dismissed as obstacles. Yet in the mountains of Austria, Sepp Holzer refused to flatten his land. He built terraces and buried logs beneath the surface, insisting that nature's curves had a logic machines could not match. Local officials fined him for breaking regulations, arguing that his methods threatened erosion control and violated land use codes. Holzer fought back, defending his approach in court and in the press, even as his neighbors gave in to the pressure for conformity. His defiance kept the old technique alive, challenging the idea that speed and uniformity were the only paths to progress. In the high desert of eastern Washington, a gardener named Maria checks her soil probe during the hottest week of July. The digital readout blinks 48% moisture, even after weeks without rain. She hasn't watered this plot since the second year it was built. Across her property, beds built on buried wood hold steady, 40 to 60% moisture at the roots, while neighboring fields drop below 20%. Maria's tomatoes and squash keep thriving, untouched by drought that has wilted crops all around. For her, irrigation is a memory. The numbers from her soil probe tell the story. Resilience measured in every drop saved, every season survived. Fertilizer prices have soared, up more than 80% since 2020, according to the World Bank indices. For many growers, each bag now costs double what it did just a few years ago. At the same time, agriculture consumes about 70% of the world's fresh water, a figure tracked by the Food and Agriculture Organization. The pressure is everywhere: rising costs for nutrients, shrinking access to water, and no sign of relief on the horizon. Every season, farmers face a stark choice: spend more to keep yield steady, or risk watching their soil lose its strength. The hunt for a lasting solution has never been more urgent. The name for this method is Hügelkultur, a German phrase meaning hill culture. To build it, start with a mound of rotting hardwood logs, branches, and leaves. Top the mound with soil, and always mix in grass clippings, manure, or compost to balance nutrients. Avoid treated wood, walnut, and cedar. Do the work once, and that mound can feed crops, hold water, and warm soil for 20 years or more. Today, synthetic fertilizer prices soar while droughts deepen. Yet millions of tons of wood waste still vanish each year. Soil's quiet wisdom waits, ready to rebuild if we let it. Sometimes the future of resilience comes buried in the past. What would you restore, given the chance?